Hari Om, that's it. In the last video, we saw Arjuna making his requests to Lord Krishna in chapter 11, verse 46 of the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna requested the Lord to revert back to his four-arm form because Arjuna was finding it very difficult while he appreciated the universal form of the Lord and saw so many wondrous things in this universal form. At the same time, the universal form is also responsible not only for the creation in this universe, it is also responsible for the destruction in this universe. And Arjuna was not able to handle this what you call this vision of these things which are being constantly destroyed in this universe, more so on the battlefield when Arjuna is witnessing the destruction or the death of so many loved ones on this battlefield. So Arjuna has requested the Lord to withdraw the universal form and show him the very pleasing four-arm form which he described in verse number 46. So today we will carry on with verse 47 when the Lord answers Arjuna's request. So Krishna says, first of all, you wanted to see the Vishwarupam, you wanted to see the universal form, and I blessed you with that vision. But now you say that you cannot handle that fear, that bhayam of seeing this destruction. So the Lord says, I will withdraw that universal form and I will show you my pleasing form. So Lord says here in verse number 47, chapter 11, Atma Yogat. Atma Yogat means the Lord is saying, through my power of yoga. The Lord is the master of yoga. Yoga is one of the powers of the Lord. So he says, through this power, idam, this param, supreme rupam, this supreme form. Which form? Vishwarupam, the universal form. So the Lord is saying, through my own powers and as per your request, I have shown you this what we call the universal form, Param Rupam, the most supreme form. Darshitam has been shown to Tvam, to you Arjuna, Maya, by me. The Lord is saying, by your request and by my powers, I have revealed this universal form to you. So as per what you prayed, I have answered your request. So Atma Yoga is the power of the Lord to reveal or withdraw his universal form as he wishes. For devotees who have reached the highest spiritual state through dedicated sadhana, spiritual practices, Lord by his grace reveals his universal form. But to those who have no faith or devotion, in the Lord, they will not get the vision of this universal form. So, to attain the universal form of the Lord is to wait for his grace. And his grace is for those who sincerely seek him. So Lord reveals to Arjuna why he has graced Arjuna with the vision of the universal form. He says, because prasannena, because I have been very pleased with your devotion, with your surrender. So Arjuna is totally devoted to the Lord, is totally surrendered, and the Lord, being pleased with this devotion and surrender, has revealed the universal form. So the Lord goes on to say in verse 47 that this Vishwarupam revealed to you, he gives 4 descriptions of this Vishwarupam. So the Lord says Yat, which is Tejomayam. This Vishwarupam is Tejomayam. It abounds in radiance. It is the most brilliant form. Why? Because it consists of everything that has effulgence in this creation. It is the total sum of the sun, the moon, billions of stars, everything that has effulgence. The totality is this effulgence of the universal form. So he says this universal form, the first description is Tejomayam. It abounds in radiance. Second, it is Vishwam, it is cosmic, meaning it consists of everything in creation. So everything that is in creation is found in this universal form, and therefore it also involves creation, it involves dissolution also. Third description of this universal form, the Lord says it is anantam, it is infinite, it is limitless. So when we say infinite, is in both aspects of uh, space and also time. There is no time limit because this universal form existed yesterday, it exists today, and it will continue to exist tomorrow. And it is also infinite in terms of space because there is no beginning, there is no end to this universal form. And the final description the Lord gives of this universal form is that it is adhyam, it is primeval, meaning it is the very first thing in creation. First thing came the universal form, then from the universal form came all these various forms, shapes, sizes, colors, etc. So the universal form can be said to be the seed of the creation or the womb of the creation. And then the Lord also says that this universal form, na drishta purvam. Drishta purvam. Drishta means seen, purvam before. Na drishta purvam has not been seen by anybody else before. Tvat anyena, other than you. That means Lord is telling Arjuna that you are the very rare one, the blessed one. No one has seen this Vishwarupa. So, however, we must note that before Arjuna, the Vishwarupam was shown on 2 or 3 occasions. However, we must understand that only Arjuna was shown the Vishwarupam due to his total surrender. And it caused such a transformation in him when he saw this Vishwarupam. So that brings us now to verse number 48. Now, every devotee who sincerely practices sadhana with a single pointed devotion will attain some vision of the Lord and also attain ultimate moksha. So there is no doubt that having a strong sense of devotion is very crucial for a devotee to attain the highest spiritual level. And by having that devotion, he will attain the grace of the Lord and be taken to the next level of spirituality. So here, Lord Krishna wants to highlight bhakti or devotion as the single pointed, unconditional devotion. Devotion must not come with conditions, it must be unconditional. Surrender must be unconditional in order to attain or to gain the grace of the Lord. So, although all types of sadhanas or spiritual practices are important, we must note that bhakti or unconditional sincere devotion must be the foundation of all sadhanas. And we will see more of this bhakti explained in detail in the next chapter, chapter 12, which is entitled Bhakti Yoga. So the Lord says now, na Veda, not by the Veda, by the what we call by the 4 Vedas, Yagnir, by sacrifice, of Adhyayanir, of study. So the Lord is saying, not merely by just reading the scriptures, getting to the meaning of the scriptures, and just being very knowledgeable about the scriptures. If you have the knowledge, but you don't have the devotion in you, so mere knowledge is not enough. Na dhanir, not by just giving tons and tons of charity. If you think that you are going to get the grace of the Lord just by giving a lot of charity involving food, money, or clothing, na kriyabir. Kriyabir means performance of rituals. So we think that by performing many daily pujas, prayers, rituals, going on all kinds of pilgrimage. We think the more that we do, we will attain the grace of the Lord. But here the Lord wants to point out that devotion in everything that we do. Study the scriptures with devotion, we give charity with devotion, we practice rituals with devotion. So the missing link is devotion. That is what the Lord wants to point out in this verse. Na tapobir, not by keeping austerities, just because we keep, and here Lord even singles out ugrahe, severe austerities. So sometimes we think if we practice the more severe the austerity, the more the Lord will shower His grace on me. The Lord says no, not by the performance of severe austerities. So the Lord goes on to say, so He's identified these few sadhanas, that is study of the scriptures, charity, giving of charity, danir, kriyabir, performance of rituals, tapobhir, performance of ugre tapobhir, performance of severe austerities. The Lord says, evam rupam, this form, this universal form of mind, na sakhya, is not capable of aham drashtum, of my darshanam. That means all these sadhanas, if you undertake without an ounce of bhakti or devotion for the Lord, if you don't have that, then all these are not going to give you the grace of the Lord and give you the vision of the Lord. So all these sadhanas we do are not wasted. It is not to say they are wasted. They will give you some punyam. They will give you some what you call merits. They will give you some worldly benefits, but they will not take you to the higher level of spirituality. So the Lord is emphasizing the very importance of devotion, sincere, unconditional devotion. So the Lord says, Twa anyayena, other than you, Kuru Pravira. He addresses Arjuna as the valiant among all the Kurus, the most mighty among all the Kurus. So the Lord says that He wants Arjuna to understand that this devotion, this vision of the universal form has been granted to Arjuna because of his sincere surrender and devotion. And whatever sadhana or spiritual practices we take up must have this element of sincere devotion, unconditional devotion. So that brings us to verse number 49 also. So in verse number 49, the Lord goes on to say, Te, meaning Arjuna, ma vyatha. Ma vyatha means, may you cease to be distressed. So I understand that you are unable to take this destructive form of my universal form, the destructive portion of my universal form. But Arjuna, may you cease to be distressed. Ma bhava, cease to be bhava in a state of vimudha, state of bewilderment, agitated mind. So don't be confused, don't be distressed. And why is that? Why the Lord understands? He says, your distress and confusion has come about drishtva, upon seeing mama rupam, my universal form. And immediately, when the universal form was revealed, Arjuna immediately saw so many things simultaneously. So the Lord is comforting Arjuna, don't be distressed, don't be bewildered on seeing this universal form, which is idrik ghoram. Idrik means so ghoram, so frightening, so terrible. But who is it frightening and terrible for? It is frightening and terrible for those people whose minds are not prepared through the proper spiritual practices. So it is not easy to accept. It's easy to accept creation. It is easy to accept the wondrous things in this creation. But a mind which is not prepared cannot comprehend the destructive nature of the Lord. So the Lord goes on to say, prapashya. Pasha is to see. Prapasha means when the word pra is added as a prefix to prasha, it means to clearly see. So the Lord is saying, now may you prapasha, may you clearly see, may idam, my this rupam. Which rupam? The original rupam, the rupam which you have asked for, the pleasant rupam. Punaha, once again. So you have requested now to see this pleasing four-arm form of mine. The four-arm form of the Lord is the form that people go to temple and worship. The form that has the four hands, holding the discus, holding the mace and all that. So the Lord says, may you now, I'm going to now take away this universal form and I'm going to show you my four-arm form. So may you behold this four-arm form of mine, and therefore when you see this form, Vyapetabi, may you be free from fear. Right? May you be free from fear. So then your mind will be Prita Manaha. It will be very relaxed. You will have a cheerful mind. So Lord now is withdrawing his universal form. He is changing back to give Arjuna a vision of the four-arm form. And therefore we see in verse number 50, Sanjaya now describes what is happening. Because Arjuna is not able to speak. Krishna is changing back from withdrawing his universal form, going back to the four-arm form. So now Sanjaya Vacha, Sanjaya says, Vasudeva is Lord Krishna. So even Sanjaya now has realized the glorious nature of Krishna. Iti uktva, Vasudeva or Lord Krishna, iti uktva, he uttered these words to Arjuna. What are the words? Once again, by uttering these words, he darshayamasa, he showed the four-arm form, swakam rupam, that is the what we call the human, so-called human form, which is the four-arm form holding the mace, the discus, the head adorned with the crown, and wearing the garlands and the yellow cloth and all that. So Krishna spoke these words to Arjuna to assure him that he will revert back to his four-arm form, which will bring a lot of comfort, a lot of what we call peaceful mind to Arjuna. So Sanjaya is saying he spoke these words to Arjuna and he showed him the four-arm form. And enam, this one form, even bhitam, because of the fear in Arjuna's mind, and that fear would take some time to go away. So Sanjaya is saying slowly as he is changing his form, because of Arjuna's fear in seeing the Vishwarupam, asva sa yamasa, asva sa yamasa, which is to console him. So the word asva sa yamasa means the reason Krishna withdrew his universal form is because of the fear that Arjuna had in seeing the universal form, and in order to console him, he went back to show him the four-arm form. So he says, Punaha, once again, Bhutva became Saumya Vapur. Saumya Vapur means the very serene, the very pleasing form. The word Saumya means sweet. So in there is what you call 8 verses of a recitation called Madhura Ashtakam. Madhura Ashtakam. Madhura means the sweet form of the Lord. Ashtakam is 8 verses. And Lord Krishna is glorified in this stotram. It's a very beautiful, what we call a prayer to the Lord. It's called Madhura Ashtakam. You can go on to YouTube and key in this word Madhura Ashtakam and hear this beautiful salutation or prayer to the Lord in these 8 verses. One of the verses goes like this: O Krishna, your lips are sweet and charming, Your face is sweet and charming. Your eyes are sweet and charming. And your laughter is sweet and charming. Your heart is sweet and charming. Your going is sweet and charming. Everything about you is sweet and charming, O Lord of sweetness. Adaram maduram vadanam maduram nayanam maduram hasitam maduram hridayam maduram gamanam maduram maduradipate akhilam maduram. Beautiful chant to worship the Lord. So, Mahatma, Sanjay uses the word Mahatma. Krishna is also glorified by Sanjaya as Mahatman, meaning the most exalted one, the most auspicious one. So now what do we mean by when we say that Krishna withdrew the universal form? So we must understand that the reason why the devotee is unable to witness the universal form is because of the dirt in our mind, because of the ego, anger, jealousy, pride. We are unable to appreciate the presence of the Lord. And because our mind is not focused, it is not single pointed, it is running helter skelter. So when we say that Arjuna had all these negative qualities in him, the Lord removed these qualities and Arjuna was able to experience this universal form. So now when we say the Lord is going back to his original form, he's withdrawing his universal form, which means all these impurities were put back again into Arjuna. So Arjuna had this, being a human being, no doubt he had surrender and devotion for the Lord, but because of all these other impurities, he was unable to witness the universal form of the Lord. So this is what Krishna was doing. Now, interesting enough that Ramakrishna also, the great saint, spoke about the two qualities of the mind, Maya and Dhaya, M-A-Y-A, and Dhaya, D-A-Y-A. Maya means claiming ownership of everything. Only being able to focus on what is mine, my body, my family, my possession. And our vision of love is limited to the boundary of our family. That is Maya. And Dhaya is when we extend our love beyond the boundary of our house to all others. So instead of just being very restrictive in our love within the boundaries of our family, we should be able to expand that love into having a love and appreciation for everything else beyond the boundaries of our family. So when only we can do that, then only this ego, this negative qualities in our mind go away, and that's when we will be able to appreciate the presence of the Lord everywhere. So now Sanjaya has described what's going on, and then Arjuna now starts to see Krishna in his pleasing form. So from verse 51, in verse 51, Arjuna will now speak in what he is experiencing. So he says, Janardana. Janardana is another name for Krishna. And this word Janardana has got two words here. Jana means by people. Ardana means the one who is worshipped. So Janardana means the one who is worshipped by people. So Arjuna now is seeing this form, that is the form we find in the temples, that is the form we find in the altar, which is the form that all people worship as the four-armed form. So Arjuna is now describing Krishna no more as a universal form. He's calling Krishna as Janardana. Drishtva, seeing this Manusham, this human Rupam, this human form, the form that we can all relate to, the form that we find pleasing, the form that we all worship. Idanim, now, Arjuna says, Idanim, now, Asmi, I have come back to my normal state of mind. My fear is gone. I am so happy. My mind is so calm and peaceful in seeing this form, Janardana form. Sacheta, my mind is calm. The word Cheta means mind. Sacheta means, Sa means calm. So Sacheta means calm mind. And my mind has become Samavritaha. Samavritaha means it is no more running helter-skelter. It is what we call, it is steady. So I'm now back to my normal state. This is what Arjuna is saying. He's expressing what he is feeling. And as a result, Gataha, I have regained Prakritim, my natural state. I'm now back to my natural state. I'm back now to my what we call, with a comfortable mind, with a pleasing mind now. So and it's not that Arjuna's confusion is totally gone. His mind is comfortable now. His mind is feeling pleasant, but he has still a lot of questions he wants to ask Arjuna. So that brings us to now verse number 52. From verse number 52 onwards to the end of this chapter, to verse 55, Sri Krishna now summarizes what he wants to say in this final few verses that close chapter 11. So Sri Bhagavan Vacha, the Lord speaks, and what does he say? Arjuna, he says, Idam Rupam, this form, this universal form, Mama, of mine, okay, Sudur Darsham is most difficult to see. It is not easy to attain this vision. So it is not that Lord is trying to discourage us by saying it's difficult, but what he's trying to stress is that you have to put a lot of effort. It's not just going to come very easily. There are a lot of challenges for a devotee. There are a lot of obstacles for a devotee. A devotee has got to learn to persevere, to be very committed to the spiritual path. And he says, Yat, which you drishtavan, which you witness. O Arjuna, it is very difficult for any devotee to witness what you just now witnessed, the universal form. Okay, to gain the grace of the Lord is not easy. It requires a lot of commitment, dedication, sacrifice. So he says, Api Deva, even the Devas. So the word Devas here is gods with a plural S. He says, Krishna says, even the gods who are in heaven, in the heavenly kingdoms, heavenly worlds, Nityam, they are ever constantly darshana kankshina. They are constantly, darshana kankshina means they are hankering to get a vision of asya rupasya, of this universal form of mine. Even by going to heaven also, you cannot get that vision of the universal form, because heaven is only a place for us to go to discharge our good deeds, our good actions. So even those who don't have devotion but who have done a lot of good deeds, even they go to the heavenly worlds and they exhaust their merits, but they have to come back. So he says, even if you become a deva by all your great deeds, even you become a divine being in the heavens, even that also will not give you this vision of the universal form. So we must understand that the devas are there only to exhaust their good deeds. And it is devotion that is the key that Krishna is speaking about here. So we will stop here, and when we resume next week, we will complete the balance 3 verses of chapter 11, and if there is time, we will go on to the next chapter 12, which is called Bhakti Yoga. Hari Om Tat Sat.